All right, welcome everyone. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Special Interest Group. Today is March 15, 2018. Let's go to the agenda. As a reminder, this meeting is public and recorded and published on YouTube. All right, so on the agenda today, we're going to go over the planning spreadsheet as usual, and we'll get end of quarter updates for each of the features that we've been working on for 1.10. And then I've created a new tab in the spreadsheet to kick off the planning for 1.11. In 2 weeks, at the end of March, we'll have another meeting, and we'll use that as a real planning meeting for 1.11. This is just to get things kickstarted. And after that, we'll discuss some of the 1.10 release blocking bugs that we have for the storage SIG. And then finally, Paris is going to give a presentation from Contribex about all the things that are going on there. All right, so let's go to the planning spreadsheet and get status updates here. So I believe Michelle is out this week. So either me or Jan or someone else will have to give an update on her behalf. For the generic storage topology solution work, the design work was completed. So we can go ahead and mark that green. Next quarter, we can begin implementing this. Volume scheduling, dynamic provisioning design was also completed and is ready for implementation. We're green on all of these. CSI volume plugin implementation. The core API has moved to beta. We are finishing up some of the external components in the CSI group at the moment. You can look at this link here to see the detailed status, but we are on target to be ready for 1.10. So CSI is going to beta this quarter as well. Mount propagation, Jan was able to get that in. Jan, anything you want to add here?
No. I got already some reports that it doesn't work, but this can be solved by documentation.
Okay. And by doesn't work, it meaning there was environmental issues that were causing troubles.
Yeah, people are running old Ubuntu that doesn't have a system that mounts everything as shared. So there is now before upgrade section now that mentions it.
Okay. So please read through that, and if you are going to be upgrading a cluster, see if it applies to you before you upgrade to 1.10. Next up is block volume support. There were a bunch of plugins for which block volume support was added. CSI got started, but we didn't complete that this quarter. It was design. So I guess for the design, I haven't seen a design doc yet.
Yeah, I don't have a design yet.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and punt that. Any updates on testing and the additional work required for block volumes?
I know that Ian had put in some tests, some EDE tests. There's been a request to restart the EDE meetings. I'll probably put that on the schedule for next week, alternating this week, to make sure we have coverage for those tests.
Yeah, so there's tests for local block.
I'm on a work phone call. I'm only listening. I'm going to start a job on Monday.
Okay, so can you, so it looks like tests were added for local block, and there are going to be more meetings to carry that on, so we'll consider that started and continue to the next quarter.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Yes, Saad, I wanted to mention one thing just so people know. These end-to-end tests for local block did catch an issue that went in between adding local block to the plugin and the test creation, which was only about 10 days later. So this is just for everybody. You know, the end-to-end tests are really valuable, and we can end up with regressions if we don't have them.
Absolutely. We can't consider a feature done until testing is completed. So let's not skimp on that and make sure we deliver high quality features. We're going to point that out at the end of this meeting when we go over some of the bugs for 1.10. I think SIG storage is a little bit more in the blocking path this release than we would like to be. And testing has a lot to do with that. Next up is local ephemeral storage to beta. This got merged and the API has been moved to beta. Snapshots. This work was started, and there's a PR out in the CSI spec to update it to add snapshots. It hasn't been merged yet, and I have not seen any updates on the restore side of things yet. We'll carry on that work into next quarter. Xing or Jing, do you have an update on this, or anything to add?
The Jing's there. So yeah, CSI about we had a review in last week's CSI community meeting. Got a lot of good feedback. So I have updated the spec. Just waiting for it to get reviewed again. And the restore API. So Jing and I we talked about it. I think she's going to write up something. So I will sync up with her again.
Cool, sounds good. So we'll continue that work into next quarter. Prevent PVC deletion when pod is using it, and prevent PVC deletion when it is bound to a PVC. Both of these were added and moved to beta. One was a new feature, the other was alpha moving to beta. There is one issue around this that you should be aware of if you're upgrading to 1.10. Basically, the way that this feature works is if you have a PVC that's bound, the PV is marked with a finalizer preventing its deletion without the PVC deleting it first. And similarly, if you have a pod that's referencing a PVC, the PVC can't be deleted until the pod is deleted. There is a controller, a new controller in 1.10 that is enabled by default that manages this. In 1.9, that controller exists but is disabled by default because it's alpha. So there is a possibility that if you upgrade to 1.10, you begin taking advantage of this new code, and then you decide to downgrade to 1.9, you're going to run into an issue where these objects may have finalizers on them, but no controller to remove the finalizer, so they won't be deleted. For now, the release team has suggested documenting this as a known issue, which is the plan. Moving forward, we're hoping to also add in logic in 1.9 in a 1.9x, future 1.9x release that will basically be a dumbed down version of this controller that will just remove any of these finalizers that it sees to prevent these objects from getting stuck in a state that they cannot be deleted. This was an issue that was caught by the upgrade downgrade tests, and just something to be aware of. Flex volume resizing, I believe a design doc was created but not yet approved. We're going to go ahead and carry on that work into 1.11. Zhao, anything that you'd like to add here? Okay, we'll keep moving then. Exposing metrics for capacity isolation, resource management. Hemant, any updates here?
Yeah, so there was already a PR merged, and it's kind of done actually from this thing. So yeah.
So no additional work required here.
No.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and scratch that for the quarter then. And volumetrics in general.
We had one new matrix exposed, but this is something we'll have to keep working in the next quarter. So we had bound, unbound matrix, and we have a PR open for mount, unmount, but didn't get merged. And so, but one got merged. So this will be ongoing work.
Okay, cool. Next up is the volume reconstruction code from Jing. This PR went in. This PR is also causing some issues because it's touching some of the core functionality that's required for mounting and unmounting volumes. There were some race conditions discovered late in the release that Jing and Jan have been working on for the last couple of weeks. At this point, it is considered, the bugs around this are considered a blocker for the release, but it looks like we're getting closer to merge. I think on the latest fix PR for this, Jan left a couple of comments, and the release managers are asking if those are blocking or not blocking. So if you have a chance, Jan, could you take a look at that?
Sure.
Cool. Next up is improving failure handling for Cinder and iSCSI. Does anybody have an update for either of these?
There's still discussion ongoing about how to handle the node shutdown scenario, whether to use taint or something else. So
Okay.
It's in progress, but we haven't finalized it.
Okay, so we'll carry on these into the next quarter then. And adding support for Ceph RBD with RBD NBD client. Ian, I believe everything got merged here.
Yep, it's done.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is dynamic max volume per count. The design doc here got started. Hemant, any updates on this?
Yeah, so design doc got started. There are some feedbacks. I'll open it to GitHub. I think the only remaining bit was I have to add CSI into consideration there and I think I figured out a way. So I'll just move it to GitHub soon, like this next week sometime, and then we can. But I'm hoping that we'll have implementation done in 1.11.
Cool. And then we scratch these off for 1.10. And that concludes our 1.10 tasks. I've created a new tab for 1.11. Feel free to start moving over tasks that you would like to work on for the next quarter, or that you think we should work on, but you're not necessarily signing up for it, but you want someone to work on, just things that this SIG should work on. Go ahead and start pre-populating that list, and then we'll review it at the next meeting. That's pretty much it. On the planning side, next up is the bugs to discuss. I think we already reviewed the two big ones that are currently blocking. One is the upgrade test for PVC. The folks working on this are rootfs. So there's these tasks which are documenting the issue. Wamin, do you want to give a status update on this?
So we have doc PR that is under review as Kubernetes/website.
Cool. Okay. And then there is a second effort in to try to fix this in a more automated way, and Paval is going to be working on that. I believe Paval is no longer at Red Hat, but he has volunteered to continue to work on this. The other issue that we're tracking is the orphan directories and mounts after downtime. This was introduced as part of the volume reconstruction logic that was added this quarter. At this point, there are 2 PRs that are out. One, I believe, is merged or is almost, it has been approved and LGTM'd, and the second one is awaiting some feedback. So hopefully those get in soon as well. And then finally, Paris, are you on the line? Okay, it looks like she wasn't able to join us today, but Paris wants to give us an update from Contrabex on the things that have been going on in that SIG. She and other folks from the Contrabex SIG are going to the other SIGs to try to share information and educate folks and make sure everybody knows what's going on with a higher level with the project. We'll go ahead and move that to the next meeting, and hopefully she can make it. And the final agenda item added here, a good reminder, when do we want to do our next face-to-face meeting? Ardalan, do you want to drive this? So last time we left off...
Sorry, I tried to unmute.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, proposed couple of dates here and a couple of locations. Feel free to call me.
Cool. Do you want to take ownership of driving the next face-to-face, sending out a survey to see what dates and locations work for folks?
Sure. Do we want to set a deadline for people to
respond?
Volunteer? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe by... Let's see. So if we're going to do April, that is right around the corner. So we would probably, it would be too early. So I think based on what Steve Wong said, for folks who are actually organizing this, it's good to have at least a 1-month heads up. And that would mean if we spend the next 2 weeks planning for which location we want, we would need an additional month once that's locked down for those folks to get ready. So we're looking at a month and a half. So I think April is not going to work as the date. So how about we say March 30 is the deadline for responding to the survey. And then we can plan for face-to-face in late May. Would that be too late?
It's fine with me.
Okay. If we're going to end up doing it in May, there is the option during the first week of May to do it in KubeCon EU. The challenge there, of course, is I'm not sure how many people are going to be able to make it out there. So maybe as part of your survey, you can include that as an option, and then we can follow up on that in our next meeting.
Sure. And if anyone else wants to volunteer, please add your company's name and dates here in the list, and I'll be happy to include that in the survey.
That would be great. I think we could probably throw in a Google location in there as well. I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
All right, cool. Next up, Karen added a section on splitting external storage. Karen, Brad, do you guys want to talk about this?
The last I know is I've emailed the steering committee and was told that the advice is not to bust out into SIG-specific organizations. Instead, well, I don't know what the instead is. I've asked for clarification on what we should do. So I sent that email. I mean, I sent a follow-up email today, and I haven't received input from them, but I'm hoping to have a better plan in the next week or so.
Yeah. I think one thing that we've learned on the Kubernetes CSI side is that having a separate repo for each component that is that ships is very, very nice, rather than clumping them all into a single repo. We've learned the same lesson from external storage. So one way or another, we want to be able to have separate repositories for each one of the features, whether they're all going to end up under Kubernetes, Kubernetes external, or some other SIG specific org. We'll sort that out. And thanks, Brad, for helping drive that. Anything else folks want to talk about in this meeting?
Hey, Saad, on the release notes blocker, you know, when we about the rollback, do we need to prod somebody for documentation review? I know Wellman opened the PR, but
yes, there's Jennifer. I forget what her last name is. I can ping you or RootFS offline with her alias.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. All right. If that is all, then we'll call it for today, and you'll get over 30 minutes back in your day. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Saad, real quick. That survey for the face-to-face times, that's not been put up yet.
It has not been sent out. Ardalan will send that out hopefully over the next few days.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye.
Sending it to anyway.